Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a great week thus far, staying strong and healthy and being productive. This is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. There is lots to learn. To become a member, click the join button next to the subscribe button on our channel. And we will have an all chat class coming up in 90 minutes that will focus on listening part 1 and 2. Welcome, Bahrat. Hi, Alpha. Hi, Kyber. Nice to see you. Alpha, you joined our membership. Make sure to send me an email so I can hook you up with your perks. Welcome, Mahmoud. Welcome, everyone. Again, this lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. We have lots of HD videos for the reading and for all sections of the exam. And for the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. Again, lots of resources to help you. This is a reading class, so make sure that you read throughout the class with me. Don't just listen to me. So definitely do the reading. Hi, Abhishek. Hi, Rashika. Welcome to the class. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click that big red button to join our premium package. You can try it for free by clicking the green button. We are official British Council IELTS Test Registration Center, and we do have trained agents. General IELTS, green background, click that big red button to join us there and get access to all of our videos and materials. All right, thank you, Kyber. Welcome, Carolina. Okay. All right, everyone. So if you have questions, send me an email to Adrian at aehelp.com. I will gladly respond. And again, we've got classes today, tomorrow, and on Saturday. Let's get into some reading. This is our reading passage for today. And the reading passage here, it's coming from our fourth exam, from our second exam book, titled The London Underground. Now, I know that we have a lot of new members, so for many of you, this will be a brand new passage. Some of you have seen this passage before. Students who have done passages like this before, don't panic, don't run away. It's a really good idea to go back and reread passages that you have practiced a couple of weeks, a month, 5 months before to see how much you have improved, to refresh that vocabulary, that information. It's not a good idea, viewers, members, to constantly be just looking for new materials and never revisit old ones, okay? So is everybody clear on that? That's a really important tip because I do find that there are a lot of IELTS candidates and students out there who are practicing, you know, in the 3-4 months, half a year before their exam, and they're just constantly looking for new material, and they don't really take the time to go back and revisit materials that they've practiced before to check how they have improved. And one reason that's important is so that you do feel your improvement. A lot of students complain, oh, I don't improve. Well, if you go back and revisit materials, maybe you will feel more encouraged that you're actually improving, okay? So this is just a quick tip here. Students, it is a very good strategy to go back and revisit materials from the past to not only refresh the vocabulary and language, but also to see improvement. Okay, so that's really important. All right, So here we go, the London Underground. Now we have this picture here. Always read the title, always look at the image, and then immediately start to think about what is this passage going to be about. So visualize it, be there. Hey, this is Adrian right here with the cool sunglasses at Waterloo Station, and I'm waiting for the subway train to take me to my next stop. All right, and I start to think about it. What am I doing here? What's going on here? All right. So, Kyber, it depends on your ability, your base ability. It depends on a lot of different factors, but 5 hours reading each day, you will certainly improve very quickly as long as you keep that up, okay? You will feel a big difference even in 1 month, 4 weeks, okay? All right, so you see this title, The London Underground. What is it? Okay, so read the title and predict. The London Underground. What is it? So what is the London Underground? When you think about this, what do you think it is? Okay, and obviously the answer here is subway or metro. Immediately, if you think about those words, yeah, that's fine. So it is a subway or metro system in London, sure. Okay, go beyond that. So, yeah, Kyber, very good. It's a rapid transit system, yeah. Okay, so it's yeah, it's a rapid transit system. So go deep. Okay, that moves people from A to B under the city of London. Okay, Carolina says it's a method of transportation or public transportation. Sure. All right. It is a system of underground tunnels and trains, right? That's another way to say it. It's a system of underground tunnels and trains. It's man-made, right? Okay, so why would we have it? So you're looking at this picture. Why would we have this underground railway system? What is the logic of it? Okay, and you're training your critical thinking, your logic, so that you can read and understand much faster the information. So that's the next question is, why have a subway or metro system under the city of London? What's your answer to that question? Nick Hill says it's important to increase the economy. How so, Nick Hill? So, sure. You'll probably come up with a few different reasons. So why else? Why is it important to have a metro system for the city of London? What are some logical reasons for this? Kyber says to go fast without being impeded in traffic. Yeah, so to move quickly between two locations in London without having to be impeded by traffic. Yeah, absolutely, right? Why else? Keep thinking, okay? The more you think, the more answers you come up with, the quicker you come up with those answers, the better you will score on your exam, okay? All right. Alpha 4 says to avoid changing infrastructure on the surface. Yeah, okay. So to circumvent the need to change any infrastructure on London's surface. Okay, sure. I think we're missing some of the key points here. Yeah, Mahmoud, very good. To alleviate the crowding of London. Yeah. To alleviate the crowding of London. I see a really good one there. Hagen says to improve air quality. I don't think they thought about that initially, but it's absolutely true, Jin. Yeah. Okay. Nick Hill says to travel from the city to the suburbs. I don't think that was initially a goal. That's it's a lot of detail, but to save time, right? Keeping it simple, students, to move a lot of people in the city efficiently. Okay, so when you're thinking about this as well, don't overthink it. All right, I didn't see anybody answer this, and I think this is one of the simplest answers to give to this. So why do we have a metro system in a city like London? Well, really, it's just so that we can move a lot of people in an efficient way, meaning to save time and space, right? Would everybody agree with that? I think that's kind of the main idea here and the most basic kind of concept, right? So to move a lot of people in the city efficiently, meaning to save time and space. Okay? Don't overthink it, all right? If you think about the main kind of idea, that will give you the best chance to predict the information. So how? Okay, so the next question is how. All right, so what's my question here? What is the how question? Okay, asking the right questions is, as I said, just as important as giving the right answers, and sometimes even more important. So what is the how question? Okay. So what's the how question? What do you think? What's the best how question to ask yourself when you read this title so that you're accurately predicting the content of this passage? So Vishnu says, how is it important? We just discussed that, Vishnu. That's not really the how question, that's the why question, right? Why is it important, or why does London need a metro system? So that's more the why question. Yeah, Kashirsha, very good. So how does the metro system work? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good question. Instead of why is it, we just answered the importance, Vishnu. So Kashirsha, yeah, so how does it work? How does it function, right? That's correct. So what's the answer to that? How does a metro system work? Okay, give me a nice answer for that. And when you're thinking about the answers, really give a good effort to think about the answers in English, not in your own language. So you want to keep your mind in English at home when you're practicing and when you're doing this during the exam, okay? So how does a metro system work? And now take it to the individual level. You're a passenger for the metro. What do? Right? So how does it work? Okay. What happens? Let's see what you come up with. I've got a pretty good idea. I mean, most of us have been on a metro at some point in our lives, or if we haven't, we've definitely seen maybe a movie or a TV series where people are using the metro, so we have a good idea. Okay, so Abhishek says electric cables and show stimulator on a computer. Abhishek, you're complicating it a bit too much. Okay, keep it simpler. Using electricity to power the trains. Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, Carolina, that's what I'm looking for. So you buy a ticket, you get on a train that's powered by electricity under the ground, and then you go from A to B. So I would go all the way from the egg to the chicken, okay? So a group of builders bore a tunnel system under London and put tracks and trains under the city. A passenger buys a ticket, gets on a train line, checks the map, and moves from A to, or instead of moves, travels from A to B. Yeah, okay, sure. All right, so that's how it works. Somebody made it, and you get on it, and you go from A to B. Okay, good. All right, so all of these ideas are happening very quickly. You're looking at the picture, you read the London Underground, you immediately think, okay, what is this? It's a metro system under the City of London. It's made up of railway lines under the city with tunnels, with trains. Why is it important to be efficient? So you're thinking about this very quickly. Okay, this happens very, very fast. All right, you should not be taking minutes on this. And then you look at the questions to see if you can get some more help. Now here we get to the questions, and the first set of questions that we see are yes, no, not given. Yes, no, not given questions are useless to review before the passage because they contain false and not given information, so we don't know what is what. So we just skip it, and then we go to the next set of questions. Hopefully that will be a little bit more helpful. Yeah, Bahra, don't read yes, no, not given. It's not useful to do that. So we go to the next one here, the growth of the London Underground. So here, growth, probably meaning the way that it was built and spread, the history. All right, so this one we can read. Here we go. So the first line, and again, this is a reading class, everyone, so read with me. So the first line of the Underground was constructed in 1863, and over the next something decades, additional lines would increase the breadth of the system's reach. By the start of World War I, the central part of London was completely covered. Through the mid-20th century, the focus was on making the system available to those living in the city. Before 1933, there were many governing bodies. These were companies with their own contracts and land. Conversely, management of the tube today is public, looked after by the transport something. Okay? All right, so that gives me a bit of help. That means that some of this passage will be about the history of the London Underground. I don't go searching for answers. That's pointless at this time. At this point, I don't know if the answers for this summary are coming from one part of the passage or from all. For these summary completion type questions, be really careful. Sometimes the answers come from one big paragraph, or sometimes they come from 2 paragraphs, sometimes from 3, sometimes from the entire passage. You don't know that until you read the passage. So again, it's not really a good idea to just kind of skim and scan and search here, because you might waste a lot more time than save. So one of the big dangers of skimming and scanning is that often you come out with the opposite of the desired effect. Okay, keep that in mind for students who like to skim and scan. For those students that like to skim read for questions, keep in mind that you may be wasting more time than you are saving. Okay? And I see that often. I frequently see students say, oh, 20 minutes is not enough to read it, but it actually is. 20 minutes is not enough to try to hunt and seek for answers. Okay? So 20 minutes, keep this in mind. Okay? So 20 minutes should be plenty time to read the passage and answer the 13 to 14 questions. Definitely, even for somebody with advanced English, 20 minutes may not be enough time to hunt and seek the answers. Okay, so keep that in mind, all right? I think that a lot of students who are skimming and scanning, especially those of you who have intermediate level English, you're actually handicapping yourselves by using the skimming strategy, okay? All right, so again, that was just an example here that this could be coming from one paragraph, from 3 paragraphs, or from the whole passage. We don't know that yet, okay? All right, and then here we have complete each sentence with the correct ending. So this is sentence completion. Again, we don't know what part of the reading these are coming from, so it's better just to read, okay? We have 6 choices, and we have 4 questions. So we have 2 choices that are not in the passage, and we don't know which one, so we just leave the choices. We only read the actual question part of the phrase. So the tube map is. The map is useful because it allows a person. Beck's key insight was. London's core is. Okay, so clearly some information about a map in this passage. All right. So now we have a good idea. We know that we will be reading about the London Underground, its history, some information about the map that's used as well. So good. Okay. Let's go back and let's do this together. All right. So read with me. Follow my pace. My speed that I'm reading is absolutely okay to follow. You'll notice that we'll read this in about 10 to 12 minutes, okay? While I'm reading at each paragraph, I'm going to stop and ask and answer what it is about, okay? You're not going to have to do the answering, members, because I just want to show you that you can do this in 10 to 12 minutes and still have lots of time to answer questions. So we're going to read and answer in 20 minutes. And right now the time is 22 minutes. I will reflect for your logic on the question and answer sessions, just so you can see that you've got lots of time. If you read the passage in about 10 to 12 minutes, that still gives you a good 40 to 45 seconds per question. And as long as you understand most of the passage, about 70%, you will be fine. Okay? All right? So here we go. Let's do this. And a very comfortable reading speed. So the London Underground. One of the most notable aspects of London, the Underground or Tube, is also one of the most utilized by locals and visitors alike. Over 1.3 billion passengers use the London Underground every year. If you have ever visited the city, it is very likely that you have been told to mind the gap. In continuous operation for over 150 years, the London Underground began as just one line run by a private corporation. Today, the system is publicly owned and is comprised of 11 separate lines. The growth and development of the Underground has mirrored London's development as first, an industrial powerhouse, and second, a financial and tourism center. What is this paragraph about? The importance of the London Underground for London as a major transportation system for moving over 1 billion people, representing its financial and its industrial power. Okay, that's what it's about. Next paragraph. Great Britain was the epicenter of the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries. Cities like Glasgow, Birmingham, and London gave birth to inventions such as the steam engine, which revolutionized transportation and travel. People began to flock to these cities for job opportunity and prosperity. London was the destination of choice for many of these people. In 1800, at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the population of London was less than 1 million people. By 1900, that number would balloon to over 6.5 million people. There were many factors which contributed to this growth, not least of which was improved sanitation. But one factor in particular allowed for the mobility of those people across the ever-expanding city, the construction and development of the London Underground. What is this paragraph about? The importance of the Underground for growth of London during the Industrial Revolution, growing from 1 million to over 6 million people. Okay. The first line was constructed in 1863. Over the next 50 years, many more lines would be added, resulting in the virtual blanketing of central London by the start of the First World War. Through the interwar period and mid-20th century, the focus for the subway developers was extending the network to the suburbs of London, where an increasing number of Londoners were now residing. Interestingly, it wasn't until 1933 that developers of the network unified into a single governing body. Until that time, there were a host of private companies competing for contracts, land, and customers. Today, the London Underground is owned and operated by the London Transport Authority, Transport for London. What is this about? It's about the history, the evolution of the Underground, and that it was owned and operated by many companies in the past, but now it's operated by one unified company, public company. Okay, so many private companies, now one big public company. Perhaps the most recognizable symbol of the London Underground is the tube map, designed in 1931 by Underground employee Harry Beck. With its many colorful lines and intricate details, the tube map is not only useful, but aesthetically pleasing as well. Indeed, a print copy of the tube map is a popular souvenir for tourists to put on their walls back home. That it is artful is, however, only part of its appeal. The tube map is incredibly useful. Just a moment spent looking at the map can help you determine how to get from any point in London to any other point. Beck was able to accomplish this by realizing that the map did not need to exactly match the reality of the tube geography. For instance, a line may go through all sorts of turns through its route, yet on the map it is represented as a straight line. This simplification worried the Underground management in 1931. But soon enough, the tube map became a sensation, both for its usefulness and its elegant design. What is this about? About the map that describes the Underground system. It's very useful, it's colorful, and effective. Okay. Today, the tube is used more than ever, and London continues to grow. With the center of London becoming a financial hub over the past 50 years, more and more jobs have been created in the English capital. While this has, in some cases, hollowed out the core of London, it has also highlighted the need for more lines to service the ever-increasing number of London suburbs. Additionally, tourism to London has never been higher. Well over 30 million people visited the city in 2015, each of whom undoubtedly at some point used the venerable London Underground. So what is this about? It's about the continuing importance of the London Underground as a key part of London's tourism, economic growth, and moving people from A to B. Good. So that reading at that speed took me less than 8 minutes. Okay, that took me less than 8 minutes with stopping after each paragraph, turning to the camera and emphasizing what it's about. So if I were reading this, let's say 25% slower, I'm still absolutely okay. All right? So I'm still absolutely okay. And believe me, when you have good fluency and if you're doing university, you would be reading quite a bit faster than that. Okay? So I had to really slow myself to make sure that I'm not going to rush there. Okay? So I was a bit faster than I wanted to read. I wanted to read it in about 10 minutes. Okay? So, but it only took me 7. So in this case, I would now have 13 minutes remaining for questions and answers. That means a minute a question, 60 seconds per question. That's a lot of time. All right, let's look at these questions. So here, okay, we have yes, no, not given. These usually come in, not always, come in the order of the paragraph. Yes, if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer. No, if it contradicts the claims of the writer. And not given if it's impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. So, number 1, over 1 million passengers use the tube each year. So here in my brain, I have 1 year, more than 1 million passengers. Okay, so that's what it's telling me here. All right. Now, firstly, I have to decide, is this given or not given? That's your first task. Okay. And to decide that, you simply ask a question. Is it important for this topic? Is it important for this passage? Do we need to know for the London Underground how many people use the tube each year? If you wrote this passage, would you include that kind of information? Abhishek says, yeah, it's important, so it should be given. Ali says, yeah, it's got to be given. So we decide that it's given, and I agree with you. So now we know it's given. So it cannot be NG. Okay, it has to be given. Now I have to decide, is it yes or is it no? So according to this passage, do more than 1 million passengers use the underground each year? Hopefully I don't have to check because I think that number was very clear at the beginning. Okay, and it wasn't just 1 million. Many of you will probably remember it was more than 1 billion. Okay, so even if the question we're asking over 1 billion, definitely over 1 million, right? 1,000 million is 1 billion. So certainly over 1 million. It's actually, I mean, if we really want to be precise, it's over 1.3 billion passengers. I mean, just think about it, right? There's how many million people living in London, and in 1 year, yeah, you're going to get a lot of passengers on that metro. So it's definitely a yes, right? Because it's over 1 billion. Over 1 billion is more than 1 million. So the answer here is yes, and you can put the answer Y into your answer sheet and then move on. So yes, over 1 million passengers use it. Okay. And again, here, so some of you are saying, well, that's so tricky. Why would IELTS do that? Well, because they're testing your vocabulary. They're making sure that you know that 1 million is less than 1 billion. Okay. All right. So the tube is privately owned. The underground is now in a private corporation's hand. Is it important to know? So I'm going to move a little bit faster. Just go with me because, again, I just want to show you that you can easily do this in 20 minutes. So I'm paraphrasing. Is it important to know who owns and operates it? Yeah, I remember reading about that. So it's important. So it's given. Is it true that the tube is privately owned right now? No. They said that it used to be, but now it's not, right? So it's a no. Okay. Next one, number 3. The steam engine was invented in London. Is that important? Well, I mean, the metro does use the steam engine, and London was a center for innovation. So my answer here is, I don't know, maybe. Okay, it's maybe important. So now if I say maybe, okay, I remember that the second or third paragraph talked about the Industrial Revolution. So I'm going to just check it. This would be me doing the exam, okay? So here, Great Britain was the center of industrial revolution, and cities like Glasgow and London gave birth to inventions such as the steam engine, which, oh, okay, so I have steam engine here. So cities like Glasgow, Birmingham, and London gave birth to inventions such as the steam engine. Okay, so here I'm going to check again. The steam engine was invented in London. I don't know that because it doesn't actually tell me. So it says cities like Glasgow, Birmingham, and London, but I don't know if it's here, here, or here. It's just giving me an example with like. So the author doesn't actually clearly tell me that it's this city, or this city. So it's not given, okay? This is unclear, all right? So not given. All right, so steam engine is there. It's a tricky one, but I'm going to go with not given because it could be Glasgow, it could be a Birmingham. Okay, number 4, London grew by a factor of 6 from 1800 to 1900. Is that important for me to know that London is growing? Yeah, I guess so, because the tube is used to move lots of people in a growing big city, and I know that metros are usually in big cities. So did London grow 6 times bigger, factor of 6, from 18 to 1900? Well, I remember there were some numbers there, like 1 million to 6 million. I think they even said the word ballooned to 6.5 million. So I could check, but here I'm quite confident that I know the answer. And I'm going to put yes. If I really wanted to, I could go back and check this too. Okay. Number 5, improved sanitation was the least important factor in London's growth. Is that important? Maybe. I don't know. I do remember seeing the word sanitation. Okay, now this is a band 8, band 9 level question. Sanitation means like sewage. Okay, so being able to flush your toilet, and it doesn't go on the street, but it goes far away from the city, so you don't have the stinky smell of sewage. And I do remember the word sanitation. Now, this is where I could use a little bit of skimming and scanning. I do remember that this was in the same paragraph as this steam engine innovation, still at the beginning. So here, a lot of these yes, no, not givens are coming from kind of that paragraph. Okay. All right. So here we go. So here's that London was less than 1 million people. By 1900, it ballooned to 6.5. So now I'm sure that I've got that previous answer correct. I'm looking for the sanitation, and I see the word sanitation here. Okay. So not least of which was improved sanitation. Not least, double negative, careful with those. It means that it's a positive. So not least would be something that's important. Okay, so improved sanitation, and of course that makes sense. Okay, not least. Okay, so not small means big, right? Okay, so here we go. Yeah, this last one, quite tricky again, but it's a, the least, it's a no. Improved sanitation was important, okay? So the negative, the not least, all right? Keep that in mind, okay? All right, so now I want to complete this summary. Let's see how well we can do this. All right. So the first line of the underground was constructed in 1863, and over the next something decades, I remember the number. Let's see how many of you remember this number, because it was very clear. It was a very kind of standard number. Does anybody remember the number that they give over the next how many years? I remember that, and you should be able to answer some of these questions without having to go back. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Nikhil. 50 years. So 5 decades. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of speed here because you can see that I'm really talking these through. So additional lines, because 50 years is 5 decades, right? I have to, of course, know that this means 10 years. If I don't know that, I'm going to be in trouble to answer this. You can use a number. So you can do 5 like that, 5 decades. Additional lines would increase the breadth of the system's reach. By the start of World War I, the central part of London was completely covered. Through the mid-20th century, the focus was on making the system available to those living in the, and I remember it was the outskirts. I know that the English word for that is suburbs. I know this word, so what I would do here is just to double check to make sure that I'm correct. I would go back to this paragraph, okay, which was obviously the following paragraph, and see if I can find the word suburbs. Now I see the word suburbs here, and I know that, okay, suburbs is here, so I've got the right word. I remember it correctly. So not outskirts, but suburbs. And I can see that many of you remember that as well. Good. Okay. You shouldn't be searching for all of your answers. All right. Before 1933, there were many governing bodies. These were something companies. That's an easy one. These were private companies with their own contracts and land. Conversely, management of the tube today is public, looked after by the Transport Authority, Transport for London. I remember that. Okay, but again, I could go back and check for these words. All right, I'm not going to because I'm quite confident, but I could. Okay, and then it says complete each sentence with the correct ending. Here, I'm going to think about my own answer. So the tube map is beautiful and effective, right? We remember that. So let's see if something can match. So beautiful and effective. To see how, full of jobs, being hollowed, colorful and intricate. That looks good. But I keep going. Popular souvenir. For tourists, yeah, okay, the grammar seems to be a bit off, that the map did not need. All right, so the tube map is popular souvenirs for tourists is bad grammar, is a popular souvenir for tourists, is colorful and intricate, so D is the better answer because of the grammar, so you have to be careful. 2 answers seem correct, but grammatically only D is correct. Number 11, the map is useful because it allows a person to quickly figure out how to get from A to B. Okay, let's see. To see how to get anywhere in London, yeah, that looks good. Full of jobs, being hollowed, colorful, no, popular. That the map, okay, no, I think A is certainly the best answer. It matches with mine. Okay. Beck's key insight was that the map doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't have to follow the exact twists and turns. That was very clear because that was very visual. Okay, so it doesn't have to be realistic to the real world. All right. And I've read this twice now with DNA, so I know much faster where to go. And I remember that there was an answer that's similar to mine, which is F, that the map did not need to be geographically accurate. So I just go F. Now these answers are faster because I've read through the responses a couple of times. So if it's taking you a little bit more time to come up with the first couple of questions, that's okay, because you will be able to use that knowledge to answer faster for the later ones, okay? All right, and then London's core is hollow. It's like a big tunnel system, okay? So to see how to get full of jobs, maybe, being hollowed out by tourism. Yeah, okay, colorful and intricate, popular. Yeah, so I would say London's core is, I don't know about full of jobs, but definitely being hollowed out by tourism. So C. Okay, and I'm done. It took me a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but I did a lot of explanation and stopping as well. Not much more. Okay. All right, looks like everybody did a good job. Hopefully you followed along with me. Now, we're going to do kind of the same, but for the listening section in about 30 minutes. So I'm going to show you how to think about the questions, think about your answers, and quickly, confidently respond to part 1, part 2 questions. So hang around, everyone, and good job, members. I know that was a little bit less interactive, but I wanted to show you that you can go through a reading section quickly. Talking it out at home, just like I did, is good practice, okay? And be confident. Don't search for all of your answers, okay? All right, everyone, hang around. I will be back. aehelp.com for academic IELTS, lots of HD videos and strategies. gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS preparation. We have lots of success stories. I know some of our members have success stories as well. So definitely join us, spend a couple dollars. It's worth to get the premium course. I will be back shortly in 40 minutes with some listening practice. Everybody will be able to join the chat. Bye for now. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest momentarily.